Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Anime Ramble. Today I got a special guest for you. Guest, introduce yourself.
What's going on, everybody? It's Dan from Dan Exclaims.
Dan, thank you for joining me. But Dan, you have a very interesting theory video I saw for chapter 324 involving the principal. Now, for the life of me, I have been trying to figure this out since probably a traitor was announced in My Hero Academia. And Hirokoshi has done a great job of just like keeping that tension throughout the entire series and building it up. So it's always been a subplot, and like now that we're here, it's kind of like, well, we've probably hit rock bottom in terms of plot. So it's definitely coming in full circle to who it could possibly be. What was like the major driving force to why you thought it was the principal, or do you still think it's the principal?
So I would say I have a theory that I'm going to be making a video about because I'm very, if you notice on my channel, I stay away from the UA trader stuff. My channel likes to say that I am the UA trader, which is hilarious. It's been a push narrative for a while now. For like the past 2 years, people will just come on my comments and be like, Dan's the UA trader.
He's writing himself the whole time.
Exactly. And it's like, it's one of those things that I try to stay away from the UA trader because I don't want to be... I don't want to say I want to be, because I take plenty of L's on my channel. Everyone knows that my Compass Kid L is probably my biggest L, and I love it till this day. But when I was thinking about Nezu, I was thinking about why he would have reason to dislike humanity. Because when you first meet him, he says, like, it's like a joke, like it's sarcastically said that you would think that since he's been experimented on by humans, that he would have this grudge against them. Yeah. So eventually it grew into, is he the UA traitor, or does he have such a grudge against All For One that he will do anything he possibly can to prevent All For One from finding people that he cares about? He just has like a soul grudge against him because he was the one who experimented on him, because we all know that All For One likes, you know, as he says, he likes strong quirks because he thinks of them as fine wine.
Yeah.
So he sees this rodent that has a quirk, or he sees he has a rodent that he experiments on to create a super smart animal. The thing that comes with...
Too.
What happened?
I said a very powerful quirk too.
Exactly. Like he literally, his quirk is he flicks a coffee cup and a building falls over. So like with high specs, he's able to do so much. So it's either, my two theories were either A, he is working for All For One. That's why you have things like the gate being able to be, you know, broken and stuff like that. And B would be, you know, he hates All For One so much that he's willing to sacrifice anything in his way to make sure that All For One doesn't succeed. That's why he created this whole UA barrier and all that as well. But I have a theory about who the UA trader might be, because remember how they were referencing it in what was it, like chapter 250 or something like that, when they're talking, when Endeavor's talking to the principal and he's like, wait, what about this? And that was supposed to hint. I think that hint was towards Toga. I don't think the hint was towards the UA trader. I think that they're really starting to take into consideration everything finally. They're not throwing caution to the wind. They're trying to meticulously think about everything that All For One could possibly do and anything that any villain might possibly do. So now that Toga is away from the fray, she could take the appearance and the quirk of anybody. So as long as she has a consistent flow of blood, she could be posing as anybody within the UA barrier. So I think that's what they were referring to. Now, you'll watch my video on this eventually, but my theory is now that Deku is the UA traitor and he doesn't even know it because of the initial quirk of stockpile.
Okay.
We've seen that All For One leaves remnants of himself in the quirks that he hands out. We've seen that in 3 different instances. The first instance is when Shigaraki is at the end of the war arc, when he gets taken over by All For One. That's the first time he takes over somebody's body and influences them. The second time is when he blows up Lady Nagami. The third time happened in Vigilantes last week, when he's inside of the mind of the main antagonist. So I think whenever he hands off a quirk, a remnant of him still lingers inside of that person, which means that he sees everything that's going inside of Deku right now. So Deku is the traitor and he doesn't even know it. That's why he knows where Deku is all the time. That's how he knew that the new One For All was Izuku Midoriya, because he has that piece of him inside of Deku. So that's a theory that I'm going to elaborate a little bit more down the line, but I'm starting to think that if they do elaborate on who the UA traitor will be, I think it might be Nezu, or it might be Deku.
You know, now that you bring that up, Hirokoshi pulls a lot from comic books, and one of the main, I don't want to say like a main plot point of villains is their ability to put in like this this kill code or this kill switch into one of the heroes, and upon one trigger word turns them off completely and allows them to work as a double or in sometimes like triple agent. Have you seen Young Justice?
Saying yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How Roy was a clone, and he had no idea that he was the clone the entire time, and all of a sudden he gets like someone says like Red Sun or something like that, and they snap, and then next thing you know they're on the other side, and he didn't even know. So that's something that like also like if you want to relate it to anime, you could say it's like Yuji and Sukuna. Like
Absolutely.
he made that deal with Sukuna, and what is it, 1 minute out of the day Yuji has no idea what's going on. So eventually that's going to add up, all of those 1 minutes, or is it 1 minute or 10 minutes that Sukuna takes over Yuji's body. We don't know what's happening in that minute, and when we find out what happens in that minute, that'll be a huge plot point later on. That could be also something that's going on in My Hero as well.
It would make a lot of sense for the principal if that was the case, given how much time he spent with All For One. It could be the same plot point, but that's interesting. You think principal had that much hatred for humans? He viewed it could be a situation. It turns out he's the traitor, and he just goes on this whole spill like, I've hated all humans. It doesn't matter who you are.
Exactly. he could have that whole, he just had the grudge against humanity itself. Like he could just turn out to be a villain, and he's like, all of you people are the reason why I am the way I am today. So I figured out how to get all of the youth in and make them bad heroes for me to take out, essentially.
Hirokoshi's he's not being coy about any of this. He's letting you know this is definitely building up. And the one driving point, I'd say, like my last 3 chapters, is that one civilian, the one with the All Might shirt on. I was like, he's a little bit too adamant about this. And given Toga's quirk and the possibility of it having, like, you know, evolved, leveled up, progressed, their whole defense system might not be enough. If she's able to, even if she was able to increase her duration for how long she can maintain it by 60 seconds, that's long enough for her to get in, find another person, and do what she got to do. Let people in the back door.
From person to person.
Right. And All Might's appearance, now he's always looked sickly, all right? He always looked like he had the Itachi disease, but he doesn't look himself with the dark eyes and stuff at the very end of the scene. So if Toga was to get in, like, do you see her already being in, or this is something that's gonna progress next chapter or within the
a few things, because I think that it's inevitable for one of the League of Villains or multiple of the League of Villains to betray the League and become more of an anti-hero. I think those two will end up being Toga and Spinner, because they align more with Stain's values of a true hero needs to exist only that of being a true hero, somebody who doesn't do anything for accolades or money. But also Toga's thing is, remember, she just wants to live.
That's true.
She is the definition of a character whose quirk took control of their head. So you can have people like Vlad King, who controls blood and not be obsessed with it. The problem is, it's his blood, Vlad King's. He can control blood. Toga's is she ingests it. She becomes fascinated with it. And that's because of Quirked society. If she's hiding within UA, she's plotting. She's thinking, because remember her when she tackles Achako through the restaurant during the war, and then she's like, can you see a future where you and I are both smiling? And Achako doesn't have an answer. And that's why, like, when she says it to Deku, she immediately thinks of Toga, because Toga comes at her with a genuine fact. Do you see a future where you and I could possibly smile together? You don't. So how could you say that you want a future where everybody lives in harmony if you know that your harmony means my destruction? So Toga's going through an identity crisis right now, where she doesn't align with Shigaraki's values, but she aligns more with the hero's values, but she aligns with her own more, and they don't align with either of their values anymore. So Toga is, I wouldn't say she's scheming, I would say she's hiding as hard as she can, because she doesn't know what she wants to do next. I think the next step for her would be to meet up with Stain.
It does bring a new meaning to Identity Crisis.
It really does.
Yeah. I think that is a great place to end this video off. Anything you want to leave the people off on before I wrap things up?
Look, everyone, be sure to subscribe to Anime Ramble. Be sure to subscribe to Dan Exclaims. Come on, hang out at the bar sometime. I gotta have you over at the bar. Have you come chill. Throw back a couple of brews.
I love it. But everybody, definitely subscribe to Dan's channel if you haven't. Thank you again for coming on. And like always, and until next time, I'm out.